Hi, I'm Charlotte with Freezer Meals 101. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to fill your freezer with some ground beef meals. We're going to be making some easy family favorite type of meals that will hopefully make your life a whole lot easier. Today, we're only doing ground beef meals, and the reason for that is that when you work with one protein at a time, things come together much faster. If you're doing, a chicken meal here and a beef meal here, then of course you end up with more variety, and I definitely suggest that you do that to some extent. But if you just do one protein at a time, then the meals come together almost twice as fast. So today we're concentrating only on ground beef, but I have done a video recently on just chicken freezer meals, and there was a lot of variety even within those chicken freezer meals. We had sheet pan meals and slow cooker and oven and all the things, and some with veggies and some without, and some full meal and some just the main. So you can check out that video right there, and then if you combine that video and this video, you'll see how in just 2 sessions you can end up with a whole lot of variety and enough freezer meals for weeks. Today we're doing 6 different recipes, but I strongly suggest that you at least double each of the recipes when you make them, because it hardly takes any extra time to double the recipes, and then you end up with twice as many meals in your freezer and twice as many days that you can sit back and relax and not have to worry about dinner. So what I'm going to suggest is that you take a Saturday afternoon and make these ground beef recipes, and then either later that day or the following day, you spend a little bit of time making the chicken meals, which those ones come together so fast because you don't even have to pre-cook the chicken, whereas today we are cooking the ground beef. And then after that one weekend, you've got enough meals to last you a long time, especially if you've doubled each of the recipes. So we're gonna get started today, and I'm gonna walk you through how to make these meals so that hopefully you can get your freezer stacked so you can relax. So for the first meal that I'm making, I'm doing tater tot casserole with beef and veggies. Now, I learned the hard way that there is an order that you need to put the ingredients in the bag. If you put the tater tots in last, then this is impossible to mix well. So I learned that you need to put the tater tots in first. So you're going to put in your frozen tater tots, then your ground beef, some onion, frozen mixed vegetables. You can change that up to whichever frozen vegetables your family likes best. This kind of very boring mixture of green beans, corn, carrots, peas I think are in there too, but just the basics is what my kids prefer in this recipe, but you can do whichever ones you like best. Now you're going to give the bag a good shake to mix all of what you have so far in there together, and then open the bag back up. And then in a small bowl, you're going to mix together a can of mushroom soup, some evaporated milk, garlic, dry mustard powder, salt, and pepper. Once that's all mixed together, you're going to pour it on over those other ingredients and give it a really good shake to mix everything together. And then you're going to open the bag back up and get all the air out, because when you're freezer cooking, say it with me, air is the enemy. You never want to have air in those bags because that's what causes your freezer burn. So you're going to get all the air that you can out and then reseal that bag. Now we're going to put 2 cups of cheese in a medium-sized bag and staple that to the outside so that when you go to bake this, you can top it with the cheese and you'll have everything you need all ready. You are going to love this next one because it is so easy. Unfortunately, I got a little overzealous and I forgot to push the record button, but I've already put in the bag the ground beef, a can of diced tomatoes, some chopped onion, chopped green pepper, and now I'm putting in the salt and the chili powder. So now you're just going to take the air out of the bag and give everything a good squish to mix it together. And then you're going to put 1 cup of uncooked long grain converted rice in a medium-sized bag. And yes, I did say uncooked. That is what makes this the easiest recipe. You don't have to cook the rice at any point here. You're going to staple that bag to your large bag, and on the day that you take this out to thaw, you just dump the contents of both bags into your slow cooker, add a little bit of water, and that is it. This cooks up all together, all in your crock pot, and it is such an easy weeknight meal. You can find all the recipes for what we're making today in the description below. To find the description, because I know that some people have a hard time knowing what I mean by the description, if you click on the video title, it will open up a box below, and in there I will have detailed all of the recipes, or of course you can find these recipes and easily make your shopping lists and your meal plans and all of that within our Freezer Meals 101 club, and I will link that down in the description below as well. Next, we're going to be making Spanish rice. Now, in this dish, you do have to go ahead and cook the rice ahead of time, but the nice thing is, because your ground beef is already cooked and your rice is cooked, on the day that you go to serve this, you're really just reheating it. So it comes together really quickly. You only have to bake it for half an hour, 40 minutes, in around there. And so you can have supper on the table in a flash that night. We've added to our bag ground beef, minced garlic, some pasta sauce, your diced onion, diced green pepper, some sliced black olives. You're going to use half the can, so usually I double this recipe because then it's just really easy to, use the whole can because you're dividing it between the two recipes. This particular time I'm only making one, plus one of my daughters loves black olives, and so we're going to use them on pita pizzas for lunch today, and she will really enjoy that, so it's not going to go to waste. Then we're going to add in our cooked rice. You can use white or brown in this recipe. And then we're going to seal the bag and give it a shake, mix that all together, and then open the bag again, take out all that extra air and reseal it. Then we're going to take a medium-sized freezer bag of shredded cheese. You can use Tex Mex or cheddar, and we're going to staple that. And then on the day that you go to serve this, you can sprinkle the cheese on top. And another meal is already done. Now, before I started these meals, I did pre-cook my ground beef, and how I did that is I lined cookie sheets with aluminum foil, and then I filled them with the beef, put them in the oven at 425, and I just periodically check it and stir it with one of those mix and masher things that breaks up the ground beef, and then I put it back into the oven, and when it's no longer pink, then it's ready, and I put it into a container and put it in the fridge. I always like to brown my beef the day before because I just find then there's so much less to do on the day that I'm assembling. I always do as much of my prep ahead as I can. So today I have prepped everything, and all we're gonna be doing is assembling. But if you wanna do your ground beef just right ahead of when you do your meals, that's fine too. When we do our big mega freezer meal sessions, we often make stuffed peppers, and we make the mixture for those, and then on the day that we go to make them, we need to fill the peppers. Now, it's delicious and it's a really nice healthy meal,
But that means that I have to remember to buy peppers and I have to make a plan. And part of the reason that I do freezer meals is because I'm not so great at meal planning ahead, which sounds kind of counterintuitive, but it's true. So even though I love the stuffed peppers that we make, they often sit in the freezer until near the end of going through all of the meals because I end up being left with the things where I have to plan and buy ingredients at the grocery store. So what's great about this unstuffed pepper skillet is I don't need to think ahead. I don't need to go to the grocery store, and you kind of have all the flavors and definitely the nutrition of the stuffed peppers, but I don't need to have the peppers fresh on the day that I serve this because they're already in here. So we've gone ahead and put our ground beef, some seasonings. So I've got cumin, oregano, paprika, chili powder, garlic, and then we're gonna add the red pepper, yellow pepper. If you want, you can add green pepper or orange or whatever your favorites are. I just wanted to add red and yellow because those are our family's favorites. And then your diced onion, a small can of tomatoes, so just 14 ounce, or if you're doubling this, of course, then you can just add half of a 28-ounce can to each bag, and that's really handy. I'm going to be using the other half of my can of tomatoes in our next recipe, so that worked out really well for me. Then you're going to add some lime juice and again cooked rice, which I just went ahead and made quite a bit of rice because I knew I was using it for multiple recipes. And then we can also have it as a side dish tonight with a freezer meal that I took out earlier in the day. So this is another one where we're going to be adding a bag of shredded cheddar cheese to the outside. Now, it might seem like, again, not a lot of variety because we just did a rice and beef meal and that one had the cheddar cheese as well. But again, if you are doing this along with those chicken meals and you're taking out, a chicken meal one day and a beef the next, and maybe you've gone ahead and looked at our vegetarian freezer meal videos and you've got a vegetarian one for the next day. And, if you're doing it like that, then you are not going to find at all that you're feeling like you're eating the same thing over and over. Even if you double these, you're still going to be getting so much variety and you're not going to be eating the same thing every day. When I chose these recipes, I did choose some similar ingredients for them, like the ground beef, of course, but the rice, the peppers, and the cheddar cheese, because it's a lot more cost effective if you buy some of those things in bulk.
You might have noticed that I keep a 1 cup measuring cup in the ground beef, and that as I'm adding the beef into the recipes, I'm just measuring it out with that cup, which, less dishes, less time, all the things. But it's important for you to know that when a recipe calls for 1 pound of ground beef, that's 2 1/3 cups once it's cooked. So that's a great little freezer meal trick to know.
I've been wanting to make a freezer meal version of a beef goulash for a really long time. So this is a first for me, but I think it's going to turn out really well. Actually, that's not even true. I know that it's going to turn out well because it's taken me a week to edit this video, and in the time that it took me to get this edited, we have actually, as a family, taken this out of the freezer and had it, and it was a huge hit. In fact, one of our kids was at work when we had it, and by the time he got home, there wasn't even enough left for him to try it because there just wasn't even enough to go around. And it's a pretty large recipe, but yeah, people were having seconds and thirds, so it is definitely going to go into the regular rotation here. So we've got our ground beef, onion, green pepper, garlic, that other half of the diced tomato can 2 bay leaves, ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, tomato sauce, Italian seasoning, salt, pepper, and I did cook the pasta macaroni ahead and drained it, and I cooked it a little bit under so that it won't get mushy when we reheat it. And I know for the next time that I make this recipe that I need to make at least 2 bags at a time so that I can pull both out if our entire family is home that night, or just pull one if some of the kids aren't here or whatever. But yes, this is a new to us recipe that is definitely going to be a regular around here. You can really never go wrong with having taco meat in your freezer. I like to have it in there all the time because not only do our kids love tacos, we also like to use it for on top of nachos or in taco salad, or I stir it sometimes into a pasta and then I will top that with some extra shredded cheese and some fresh diced tomato and green onion, and it's just a really nice like taco flavored pasta dish. So I always have at least a bag or 2 of taco meat in my freezer. And as I was making this bag, I realized that I still had a lot of browned ground beef left, and so I might as well make 2 bags because I'm never going to be sad to have extra taco meat. So I added the ground beef, some taco seasoning, then tomato sauce and minced onion, chili sauce, and we always add shredded cheddar cheese right into our taco meat. I know it sounds a little bit unusual, but it just makes it so like creamy and doesn't taste all that cheesy. It's just like really adds something to the texture and the overall flavors. So that's how we do it. If you don't want to add cheese into your taco meat, then obviously feel free to make this without the cheese. Or, of course, if you are allergic to dairy or you're not eating dairy for whatever reason, then omit that and you'll still have really amazing taco meat. But yeah, this quickly I was able to get 2 more bags of taco meat into the freezer. If you've been watching my videos for a while, then you know how much I hate to waste anything. And when I had bought the ground beef for these meals, I knew that I had bought too much, but it was much cheaper by the pound to buy it in the quantity that I did. So I went ahead and just cooked it all up. I knew that I would find a way to use it. So what I was left with was enough for 2 more meals. So I went ahead and just invented something. I know that the flavors are going to work really well together and that it's going to end up being super delicious and really easy on the day that we go to make it, because it can be either a crock pot or a skillet meal. So what I did is add the ground beef, onion, garlic, the rest of the chopped green pepper that I had left, some of the onion that I had left, the rice that I had that was already cooked up, so that will make this come together super fast on the day that we cook it. And then I just went and added a can of kernel corn each. And as far as seasonings go, I added some chili powder and taco seasoning. So this will have kind of those Southwest flavors. And I think this Tex Mex Invention is going to end up being really, really good. Plus, it gives me 2 more dinners for a grand total of 9 ground beef recipes. If you add that to the chicken recipes that I made last week, our family is going to have dinner for at least a few weeks here.
That came together in no time at all. I was able to put together all of those meals in a little under an hour, but keep in mind, I already had my beef browned already. I had the rice cooked for the Spanish rice. I had, all of my vegetables chopped and prepped and everything. So if you're doing this, start to finish, do not only set aside 1 hour, because I don't want to steer you wrong here. It will take longer than an hour to get these made. But if you go ahead and double these recipes, you will have like 2 weeks worth of dinners, depending on the size of your family. You might even have 4 weeks worth of dinners with just what we've made today. And then if you combine that with some chicken recipes, you can have a month's worth of meals or more, depending on how many of each recipe you make, but in just, an afternoon on the weekend or during the week, whenever you have time. You can also do this in the evening, and of course, it's way more fun to do it with a friend. I'm missing having Christy today, but soon we will be getting together again to make more freezer meals for you guys and to show you how to do this with a friend, which always makes the time go by much faster. Thank you guys so much for joining me. It has really been fun. I'm gonna put a link right here to those chicken recipes so that you can combine the chicken recipes from the other day with the beef recipes from today and really get your freezer filled. Because I want you to know the freedom and the feeling that comes from opening your freezer and seeing all of your hard work and knowing that you don't have to cook again for a long time. It's pretty amazing. Happy cooking.